Hi, my name is Abby Pittman and I am a third-year student at Oregon State studying studio art. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to decorate your Native American flute using a wax-based paint called Encaustics. So let's get started, and go Beavs!
Alright, so first off we're going to need wax paper just to keep your workspace clean. Next, we're going to need a pancake griddle with your paint, and you're going to want to put that at 250 degrees so that your wax doesn't boil, but it also gets hot enough to be melted. Next, we're going to use a heat gun to fuse your wax to the surface so that it stays put and doesn't chip off. Next, just any regular cheap paint brushes from a craft store. Also, masking tape, and of course, your Native American flute. And with the masking tape, we're going to make sure to cover all of the holes on our flute so that the wax doesn't impair the sound. And it's really important that the tape covers all of the holes. So make sure that as you go through this, you're very thorough. And that all the holes get covered. This will also help to keep your edges straight as you put the paint on. Next, we're going to need a tool that is used in clay and ceramics, but it'll work here just fine as well. And it's used just to scrape away excess wax. This tool is like a small needle point at the end, and you can use this if you want, but you don't have to. And it's just for etching in the paint. Alright, so this is what molten wax looks like. It's very nicely pigmented. And we're just gonna dip our paintbrushes in the wax and just start painting it on the flute. And you'll see that as we do this, the paint will keep it, the tape will keep it from running over the sides, which is great. And once you peel that paint off, you'll have nice edges that'll be straight. So as we're going through this, Encaustics is a wax-based paint, which basically means that the binder for the pigment is the wax. And so you can make this kind of paint at home. That would be a whole nother video in and of itself. But it has a really fun texture, and it's nicely colored as well. So next, what we're going to do once our paint is on is we're going to fuse it. And what fusing does is it helps the paint stick to the wood so that when the wax gets cold, it doesn't chip off of the flute. It just helps to bind that paint to whatever surface you're putting it on. And if you're painting wax on wax, you don't necessarily need to fuse it, but it doesn't help. Next, I'm just blowing on it to make sure that it cools down faster. Alright, so next, I'm just going to take a little bit of lighter blue and I'm going to put that on the surface of the darker blue, and this just helps give the paint some dimension. And if I want to chip away at it later or etch in it, I can do that, and there will be a darker color underneath and then a lighter color as we get closer to the surface. So just fusing it again to make sure that it just stays put. And you don't necessarily want to fuse it too much because the paint will run down the sides. You can already see that it kind of has some drips. And this is fine, that's what the tape is for. But it also, if you want hard edges like I do, then the paint is very important for that. And like I was said with the fusing, you want the wax to be soft, so for it to get slightly shiny, but you don't want it to like melt so much that it just runs down the edges, because then it's too hot and you're just displacing your paint. Nice and shiny. It'll take a few seconds to dry too. So next I'm etching into the wax, which kind of can create a really cool effect. And it just makes the paint look like it's slightly more textured. And you can really do whatever you want. On this small of a surface, it might be kind of difficult to create a small scene, but you can. So next what we're going to do is we're going to put a different color of paint, for me orange because I like complementary colors, and we're just going to fill in those holes that I etched with that orange. You don't have to etch either, you can just put the orange on top. And really this paint is really forgiving. It's just kind of fun. It has a nice sculptural quality to it, which makes it really interesting to work with. So now, once the orange and yellow is dried, we're going to just take this tool and we're going to use it to scrape away some of the top, so then we'll have some orange and yellow and blue showing underneath, which can give it just a really fun kind of texture. It reminds me of bark, colored bark, which I kind of like a eucalyptus tree or something. So as we keep doing that, you don't want to do it too much or else it'll take all the paint away, which is not what you want. So next we're going to, once it's all dried, just take all of the paint off of it, or not the paint, the tape off of it. And once we get to the end, you'll see that we have nice straight edges and it looks really clean.